Hey everybody, Joe Waldin here again, and in this video it's going to be a two-parter. We're going to first create a web service and push it out to our internet provider, and then we're going to create a website to consume that service. So let's get started. We got a lot to cover. Let's open up Visual Studio. We want to create a new project, and we want a Windows Communication Foundation service application, okay? And let's call this JPW SVC. Okay, so when this loads up, it comes up with a couple of classes, a couple of methods in here, and you'll notice that it inherits from iService here. So if I open up iService, well, you'll see that we have some contracts in here. I'm going to just, to keep it clean, I'm going to get rid of just this composite contract so that we only have one contract that we're working with, and it's going to be called Get Data. And what I'm going to do is change some of the code here. Okay, so I changed it here in the service1.svc, and here in the iService we want to change. Okay, so what we're doing is that when a website consumes this service, it's going to be a method here called getData, where it's going to provide two arguments, and one is a value and one is a multiplier. Okay, and what's going to be returned here is going to be a string here, a formatted string that just says that you sent a value of value and a multiplier of multiplier, and it just puts it in a nice little value. Multiplier times value equals multiplier times value. Pretty self-explanatory. Okay, all right, so how do we test this? Well, we just click the run button up here, and you'll notice this little utility comes up, and it has the one method that we have available. So we'll double click that, and it allows us to put in temporary variables here. So I'm going to put in a 3 as my value, and a 2 is my multiplier, and I click the invoke button here, and you'll notice, let me expand this out, that's the value that's returned here is this string. You sent the value of 3 and a multiplier of 2. 2 times 3 is 6. That's what the user is going to get sent back to them on their consuming website. Now, just for fun, you can click down here at this XML here, and you can see the request that was sent, and you'll notice that between the get data tags here, we sent a value of 3 and a multiplier of 2. And then the response is just this one line here gets sent back. It's a get data result, and it says you sent the value of 3 and a multiplier of 2. Just gives you an idea of what's happening. This SOAP request got sent back, and it all comes back serialized and everything, just like you're looking at it right here. So okay, so that works. So what I'm going to do real quick is publish this, and we'll create a new profile here. Let's call it Joe. For now, we want to do a file deployment, and the target location is going to be my desktop, an FTP folder, and I want to delete all existings and precompile. Okay, so now I'm going to quick open up my Smart FTP, and I'm going to drag my package over here. Okay, I just pushed it up to GoDaddy, my GoDaddy account. And so let's open up a browser, and let's type in jpwaldin.com/websvc. And we want service1.svc. So here you see this is what will come up if you just log into the web service. And if I click on this WSDL here, you'll see that here's the WSDL that's returned, And there's interesting things here. There's like a HTTP binding and things like that are important to have because the consuming website needs to have that. So sorry, I'm moving kind of quickly here, but we got a lot to do. So now let's create a let's close this solution out and let's create a new project. And we want a empty web application, and we're going to call this DPW SVC test. Alright, so first thing we're going to need is a new a web page. Alright, and then the next thing we're going to need is a service reference. Okay, now do you remember what the service reference was? So when I click go here, it's going to go out to the web, pull down the information, and you'll see that I've got my get data method here. So when I click OK, I could name it anything, but let's just go with the defaults for now to make things go fast. What I've done is in my web config file, you'll see that it's created a binding to the iService1, and then it creates an endpoint which points to the jpwaldin.com web service. Okay, so let's go back to our page now and let's add some code in here. All that this is just, the code is just for demonstration purposes here. If I look at the design, you'll see that I've got a label up here. I've got a drop-down box for my initial value, a drop-down box for my multiplier, and a submit button. Okay, so that's in there. So now let's go to our code behind page, and let me just copy a button click in here. And what I've done here is I created a service reference 1, which is the service reference here. If you look in the references here for service references, you'll see that there is a service reference called service reference 1. So what I want to do is create a client for it. So this is the code to create the client right here. You need to do that. Now here, all I'm doing is taking the drop-down list value, selected value, and plugging it into this integer variable, and then I'm doing the same thing with the drop-down list box called multiplier, and then I'm taking the I'm sending it out on the client here, which is this service reference, right? That's it right there. I'm sending it out using the get data method, and then I'm displaying the results in the label that's up at the top. Okay, that's this label up here. Alright, so we can just jump right in here now and run it. And so let's say initial value is 3 multiplied by 5, and there's our answer. Now this came back from the web service. This was not generated at all from the website. Alright, and then you can go ahead and play around with this if you want to. I'll leave the web service running, and the URL to the web service is listed right here. And that's all. Now you know how to do your first web service and how to consume it. Talk to you later. Bye.